All right, good morning and welcome everybody to the Health Transformation webinar. This is your host, Cade Archibald, and really excited to be going over this amazing information today. We're going to be jumping into thyroid health, gut health, and just some really cool things. So if you have any questions while we're going through this, feel free, shoot me a message in the chat box. You can also raise your hand. You got a lot of different options. So we're really excited to have you guys on. We're just letting people gradually trickle in. Looks like getting some more and more as we go. And I'm going to actually publish this on YouTube so everyone can watch us live on YouTube as well.
And we're live on Instagram as well.
Perfect. We're live everywhere.
We're just live. We're alive.
All right. Well, so Reagan, we're talking about thyroid, brain fog, autoimmunity. This looks like some really cool stuff. Let's jump in.
Okay. Well, good to have everyone on. Hopefully you guys had a great Labor Day weekend, and you guys did something fun and appreciated the fact that you've been laboring, slaving away all year, and you get a full day off. So congratulations. Let me, sorry about that. Kate, it looks like I kicked us off of, my PowerPoint just dropped. So let me pull that up again. Sorry, folks.
Whoops.
I don't know what happened there. I just downloaded it. I'm on a different computer. My computer died and the PowerPoint just dropped. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about thyroid, autoimmunity, brain fog. So I don't know if any of you have ever had issues with your thyroid, but it's not a fun thing to have. And we've talked about this at many different occasions. But today I'm going to be kind of discussing some of the more deeper aspects of, brain fog and autoimmunity and things like that. So, so let's jump in, and there I am back. Now you can see it. Is that there for you, kid?
Yeah, you are good. You got it pulled back up.
Okay. And, all right, but it's not, let me go to home, get this out of the way.
All right. We experiencing a few little technical difficulties this morning. Always makes it fun.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. Okay. Now I can play from the start. Perfect. All right, guys. So a lot of different things. Hopefully you guys are on our Go Wellness Radio. We've got a new show that should be released in just a couple of days where I interviewed Elliot Spencer from Utah Cord Bank. So we have this health crisis in America, and I think you guys have seen it. And this health crisis is rampant. I was just reading last night about the Sackler family. I don't know if you guys know who the Sacklers are. Probably not. But the Sacklers are one of America's most wealthy families. They have a net worth of $14 billion at least. That's being very conservative. And the Sacklers, there are three brothers, and they're all psychiatrists. And these three brothers were the inventors. They bought a pharmacy, a small Massachusetts company called Purdue Pharma, and they created a drug called OxyContin. Now, many of you have heard of the drug OxyContin, and you know about heroin, and you know about narcotics and opiates and the opiate epidemic. Well, this is the Purdue Pharma, and the Sacklers are the ones that we can all thank for getting millions of Americans addicted to these pharmaceutical prescription drugs. So we're in a health crisis. Not only are we in a health crisis based on the amount of people who are on way too many medications, but we're in a health crisis because our food has changed. If you look at our food, it's way different. We have Monsanto and Bayer have teamed up now, and they are creating an onslaught of destruction in our country and with our foods. Right now, you can't get any, for those of you who enjoy wine, you can't get any wine that's glyphosate free in California. And so even organic wine, the glyphosate does tend to drift and gets into other crops. The other thing that's happening because of the Roundup that Monsanto sprays, and glyphosate is just the active ingredient. But what happens is as it gets too hot, the crops in the Middle America, they start to buckle. And then what happens is the Roundup can float into organic crops when the wind blows, and then it can destroy and even kill some of these organic crops that don't have the right seeds to make them resistant and robust enough to handle the Roundup. So we've got this massive health crisis, not only in our food, in our drugs that we're administering, but also in modern day stress. So 3 types of stress that will catch up to us sooner or later. And many of us, we downplay stress. We just think it's part of day-to-day life, and a little bit of stress is. But if you think about your overall health, you have tremendous amount of blood circulation in your body. You've got all these blood vessels, and every time you have physical trauma to your body, that puts stress on your circulation. And that stress, what happens is you start to get muscle tension. So you start to walk a little different. Your knees start to ache. Your joints start to ache. And this physical trauma can build up for years. And, it's not until it's almost too late by the time we do something to it. Physical trauma, for those of you who have had neck issues, that can also affect your thyroid, for example, if you've had too many whiplashes. If you look at physical trauma to any part of your spine, that can cut off the nerve and blood supply to different organs and glands. So there's many different areas where we have stress, but physically is one of those. The other one is chemical stress. Now, one of the biggest areas of chemical stress is actually in our water supply. Unfortunately, it's in our air, and we just made it through a brutal summer with lots of forest fires, but we also get it in our water. And the things that disrupt your thyroid gland, there's 3 molecules. It's fluoride, chlorine, and then bromine. And bromine is what they use it's like a cleaner. You can use it in hot tubs. Bromine is
also found in bread.
Yep, that's what I was just going to say. It's a preservative found in bread. And they substituted bromine for iodine. We used to preserve bread in iodine, and it was, great. It preserved it just awesome, but bromine was easier to get your hands on and cheaper. And so we put that in our breads. That's why you feel a little different when you eat breads in Europe versus United States. And then the fluoride, of course, where we get fluoride. Fluoride's going to be found in our water supply. And I won't dive into the story there with, the Merck pharmaceutical companies that, one of the big byproducts of making Prozac is fluoride. And several other drugs, and they just started dumping it into the fields, and then the pigs started eating it and had all these crazy issues with their offspring, and suddenly they realized, it's the fluoride, so let's not feed it to the pigs, let's feed it to the humans. And so they started putting it in our water supply. So little discouraging there. And then chlorine. Cade, where would you say the main sources of chlorine come from?
Water.
Yeah. I mean, we use bleach, and frankly, we need it because there's a minuscule amount that is necessary to kill off a lot of different bacteria. But man, if you look at Amsterdam, the way they built up their aqueducts, I mean, they've got these salt aqueducts underneath the canals. For those of you who've been to Amsterdam, and they have some of the world's cleanest drinking water that's chemical free. And so I think if we could all model kind of our cities after Amsterdam, that would be amazing. Cade, you got to go to Amsterdam. It's got to be one of the healthiest cities in the world, but they do party hard as well. So watch yourself.
Yeah, I definitely have to watch myself there.
Yeah, it was fun taking Dad there. He partied hard. Really hard.
Yeah.
He threw down. And then the final stress is emotional stress. And so emotional stress can come in all forms. We had a ton of company. I'm a little bit introverted at heart, and so I need a little downtime to recover. but I had nonstop company for the last like 2 weeks. And so I noticed by Monday, I was a little like aggro, a little agitated. And, my parents were staying with us and they're phenomenal. They're so cool. But I just needed a little downtime. So for those of you who you can experience emotional stress, you got to know your limitations and find those. But these stresses, they put issues on our body. We've had surgeries and they build up. And so one of the things we're looking at today, and I won't share this story of Jana with you guys, but one of the things that I look at all the time is I say, how can we improve our overall health? And one of the ways is, sorry about that. I'll try and fix my sound a little bit. Cade, just let me know if that improved it at all. Is it still?
It's just every once in a while there'll be like something rubs over the microphone. It's like a swisher sound, like you're moving papers or something.
Okay, sorry about that. But this is Jana, one of our patients who was scheduled to get her thyroid removed. Jana came to me and she said, look, I don't want to get it removed. My endocrinologist, all he's been doing over the last several years is adjusting my medications. She was diagnosed with Graves' disease in 2010, and she came to see us in about 2014. And she'd been all over and she was tired. Her hair was falling out. What you see here is like a very robust full head of healthy hair. And she is a hairdresser, so it's a big deal to her. But what the bigger deal is her poor digestion. She just was struggling. And we helped her. Not only does she still have her thyroid, but we were able to help her reverse her Graves' disease, save her thyroid. She grew her hair back. She feels better than she's felt in 20 years. So there's a lot that can happen without surgery. So one of the first things is you got to have the right habits. So you got to you got to think about what habits that you have right now that are not healthy. And then habits that are healthy. I like starting with wins, starting with the things you're doing just great. And, take a minute and write down, what are your healthy habits? What are you doing right now that's really moving the needle and pointing you in the right direction when it comes to your health? Now think about the habits that are not so healthy, the habits that, are keeping you from progressing. And those can be something subtle. It can even be like, waking up and not making your bed could be like an unhealthy habit. It could be not flossing. It could be not exercising. I mean, there's a lot of things that you may not be doing that is an unhealthy habit, or the things you are doing that are unhealthy. Maybe you're drinking too much alcohol, or you're thinking too many negative thoughts, or you're watching the news too long. We don't recommend more than about 3 hours of Fox News per day is about max that we recommend. Or would you say a little more than that, Cade?
Now you could get away with a little more.
Yeah. It's like, don't watch news. I mean, turn it off. Read your news. It's way better for you. And then set some goals and then have an accountability partner. If you don't have an accountability partner, reach out to us and we'll get you connected with one of our health coaches here at East West. But this is going to be the key ingredient as you're looking to really transform your health. So our health habits in America, you do not want to be doing this when you walk your dog. You've got to do this on your own. So don't let me catch you doing that. So as many of you know, I founded East West Health in 2004, and my mission has always been to help as many people as I can get as healthy as possible. And so when we look at that, I say, well, how do we get people as healthy as possible? Well, first of all, we've got to transform their health and make chronic pain and disease optional. So too many people are in pain. Too many people have chronic disease. And so my mission is, as a team, I want to make those things optional. So we focus on results, not medication or surgery. We do love our patients. But one of the things that causes our patients to exit this life way too quickly is this thing called death. And death is prevalent. There's 100,000 people, 150,000 people who die every day on this planet. And the number one cause of all this death is aging. Aging actually contributes to 100,000 deaths every single year. And so how can we stop aging? And what is aging? Well, if you look at aging, it's basically, aging is when you have the degeneration of cells, of tissues, of organs, of glands, of joints, whatever it may be. You have the degeneration there and there's no regeneration. So aging can be one of those things that maybe there's a way of slowing this down. Now, I don't know that I want to live forever. I do know that I want to live a super long, happy, healthy, robust life. Oldest person, as many of you know, is Jean Clement, lived to be 122 and a half. Remember selling colored crayons to Vincent van Gogh. One of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, his goal is to live to be 156. And he's got a really cool new podcast called American Checklist that you guys may want to check out. He lives in Canada, but he grew up in America. He grew up on a farm in Ohio. And so very interesting. It's all mindsets. It's not political at all. Maybe a tiny bit, but very little that actually has to do with politics. So I definitely recommend you check that out. My new book, Brain Rejuvenation. If you look at aging and if you look at keeping your body healthy, the brain. And so I've got a new book coming out, and hopefully it will be out by the end of this month. And it's on brain rejuvenation, as you can see. But I talk about some novel ways of improving cognitive performance, mental performance. We talk about about nutrition, about nootropics. We also talk about stem cell therapy for those of you who have had traumatic brain injuries, concussions, or too much exposure in your life. But this is something that will be coming out. I'm a big believer in education, and so books are a great format where I've been able to do that. So let's talk about the brain and aging, because if you can have a healthy brain, everything changes. And I think all of us have experienced brain fog at one time or another. But one of the biggest things that we've found is we found that if you have enough stem cells, these hypothalamic neural stem cells, what you're going to find is that your brain will actually perform better. And so what researchers did, these life extension researchers, is they found a virus that they could put into the brains of these mice that would attack the hypothalamic stem cells. And so these young mice who had this virus inserted into their brains, this virus destroyed their stem cells, and they took on the signs of old aging mice. And then what the researchers did is they reversed it. And what they found is that these mice that took on these characteristics of old mice suddenly became young mice again and could run around. And it was almost as if the aging process was reversed. So very interesting when you're looking at the brain. You guys have been on our other webinars where we've talked about chronic back pain. Any chronic pain in your body causes your brain to age. And chronic back pain atrophy is equivalent to 10 to 20 years of aging. So if you want an old brain, just stay in pain. There's a lot we can do to get you out of pain. For some of you, you've had this pain for so many years that it's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. But if you start jumping into it and every day you do things that are going to help support the growth of either you've had stem cells and you're supporting the growth of the new stem cells, or you're doing things to keep the health and integrity of your joint, like walking properly, doing some qi running, qi walking, working at some muscle activation. I did a yoga class this morning that was phenomenal. So there's so many different things you can do to help keep your brain super healthy and keep your body out of pain. So, all right, I'm going to move through and we're going to talk a little bit more about autoimmunity, because your brain, everything starts in the brain. And with autoimmunity, it's one of the most prevalent things that we're finding in our society right now. In the industrialized, there's about 17 major industrialized countries in the world. And the diseases, the infectious diseases, those are pretty much taken care of. But the diseases that keep coming up over and over again are the autoimmune diseases. And so, Cade, what would you say in your clinic down in St. George, what do you see as the most prevalent types of autoimmune diseases that you guys have?
I would say thyroid is one of the biggest ones we see.
Yep. Okay. More Hashimoto's, more Graves.
Yeah. Hashimoto's. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and I see that in our medical meeting. Justice and Chris are bringing up some of their There are patients who have Hashimoto's, but yeah, we're seeing more multiple sclerosis, autism. We see a lot of Parkinson's disease and ALS. So there's a lot of different autoimmune diseases, but if you have one autoimmune disease, your chances of having additional autoimmune diseases triple. So something you really got to look out for. Your digestive system is where it all starts. A lot of us, we don't really understand all the mechanisms behind our digestive system. But what I found is there's been massive breakthroughs in understanding the gut biome in the last 3 to 4 years, like phenomenal amounts of research. Because if you just think about the simple process of digestion, you got to chew your food and then you swallow your food. Once you swallow your food, your stomach's got pepsin in it and lipase and different enzymes to break down the food. So it's like the oven. It's got hydrochloric acid. So it's a way of breaking apart the proteins. The amylase, as you chew, starts breaking down some of the simple sugars. And then once you swallow, the small intestine starts extracting all of the nutrients from the food. And then by the time that food hits your large intestine, and the small intestine is also where the bile gets secreted for fat digestion. But by the time the food hits the large intestine, that's when the food ferments, and that's where you actually can get even more nutrients from your food. A lot of people don't realize that. And so that's why, Cade, you could eat one meal and you could extract 400 calories from that meal. I eat that meal and I could extract 600 calories from it just based on the way that our microbiota is and based on the health of our microbiota and how quickly we utilize those calories. So, and then some of those bacteria in your gut are going to be there to store the fat and store the energy. The other species are going to be there to get rid of it. So very interesting process there when it comes to digestion. But if you're not digesting your food properly, what happens is you end up with leaky gut. And Kate, do you mind, maybe we could have everyone get tested for leaky gut today?
Yeah. So let's just test everyone real quick here. You know what? Let's Reagan, share your video, and I'll actually talk him through the demonstration if you got a chance. Or maybe I'll share mine.
Share yours. There you are. Okay, good.
Okay, so here's how it goes. Everybody, you're going to take a drink of your water, okay? So, all right, now, watch my gut. See, my shirt's starting to puddle up. Nope, no puddles. Good, I don't have leaky gut. I made it through. I'm sorry.
Oh, man, that wasn't even funny. Well, that was great. Thanks, Kate. Oh, boy. And
whoops, lost it again.
My PowerPoint just died on us. But yes, leaky gut. And I apologize. I don't know why my PowerPoint keeps dying. It's on a different computer today, and I don't think it likes PowerPoint. But anyway, so if you look at
leaky, it just doesn't like you, maybe.
It just doesn't like me. So if you look at leaky gut, it's one of those areas that we find the easiest way to test for it is with a test called Viome. And Viome will actually show you the amount of human RNA that exists in your stool. So if you've not tested your gut, if you want to know, do I have leaky gut? Do I not? Then what I would recommend is get Viome. Get a Viome test. You can get it on their website. You can use what's the code where they can get bumped up in the testing process, so they have to wait long. Is it Go Wellness or East West?
It's Go Wellness.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so leaky gut is one of those things that can trigger autoimmunity. And when you look at, there's plenty of tests that we can run. We can look at zonulin. We can look at lipopolysaccharides. Those are a couple other markers for leaky gut as far as testing goes. But really, the RNA is one of the most important things, because that shows the amount of these epithelial cells that are being digested or being excreted off at too high of a rate because of the inflammation. So leaky gut can be caused by stress. It can be caused by toxins in the environment. We talked about some of those that destroy your thyroid. Certain foods like your gluten, your soy, your corn, Even dairy, like the casein in dairy, can be very toxic. Unfortunately, peanut butter is one of the foods that causes GI inflammation. My family like sneaks in jars of peanut butter because I'm always like, there's healthier sources. Try cashew butter. And they're like, no, it just doesn't taste the same. And I get it. I like peanut butter the best. I mean, but it's not easy on your gut. And then drugs.
You know what? I think peanut butter always gives me brain fog. Like, I don't know what it is. I just don't feel good on peanut butter. It tastes great. I just don't feel good on it.
Yeah, one of my football coaches in Nevada, my senior year, I was getting all bulked up. I weighed about 180 pounds. Yeah, that's when I could
just swole.
I was swolled up. I can bench 300, and I was just mean. But every night he's like, look, I want you to eat 2 peanut butter and jam sandwiches and a big glass of milk. That was the diet that my football coach gave me. And I remember right when football was over, I lost like 15 pounds because I could finally quit eating that horrible diet. But yeah. I was heavy. Man, it was
the question, how much of that weight was just pure inflammation?
Exactly. That's no kidding. Because actually I could bench 300 after I got off that crappy diet, and I weighed 15 pounds less. So yeah, anyway, interesting. So don't eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a big glass of milk. It's like the worst thing you can do to anybody. Because, I had gluten, I had sugar on the jam, I had the aflatoxin in the peanuts, and then I had nothing but brain fog and grumpiness. Beyond that. So, all right, guys. But hopefully this has been interesting today. I think we are at the very end. So thanks for being on. Sorry about the technical difficulties today. Next week, we'll make it all better. So love you guys. And please reach out if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.